All right, what's going on, guys? It's Simple Sports back again with another episode. Finally, good week, good weekend. Had a lot of great football games. No, I'm just kidding. This week actually was pretty slow. Uh, it was very disappointing Saturday because my Buckeyes lost. They didn't just lose. I mean, they got obliterated. So there goes their national championship hopes, unless something drastic, like you would have to have a bunch of losses up at the top, a bunch. So I don't foresee them in the playoffs, which I think is pretty obvious at this point, which sucks because I think they just laid an egg. I still think they're one of the best teams. I think they just came out flat and laid an egg against another Big Ten team. It happens, but it is what it is. They're out. At least it seems like they're out. I don't know. Like I said, it would take something really, really crazy to get them back in. But we're not going to dwell on that too much. There weren't really that many great. I mean, there was some smaller games that were great, but none of the teams that I follow consistently really played any great games. So not a whole lot to talk about in the way of college football. But I do want to get into some NFL stuff really quick. They fell down to 13, which, listen, it's not impossible. There are 3 top 10 matchups this week, and there's a lot of teams on there that very well could lose, so we'll see. But it's very, very, very unlikely. So, but NFL. So my Titans won. I'm happy. Not a pretty game. It started out looking like it was going to be a blowout. They came out pretty strong. And then I personally think they just let off the gas a little early in the third quarter. They started running football a lot, which I want them to do, but I think they needed one more touchdown. I think if they would have came out on that first or second drive and really pushed the ball down the field one more time, got another score, then come back the next time and grind it out. I think they were too close to Baltimore to do what they were doing, but nonetheless, they got the win, so I'm happy about that. Moved to 5-3. They've won 3 straight, which hasn't happened in I don't know how long. I don't know if they won 3 straight at any point last year. I think they won 2 straight a couple of times. I don't think they ever won 3 straight. I don't know the last time they won 3 straight. If it wasn't last year, I couldn't even tell you. It's been years. And they're 5-3. I said that I think they'd be 8-3 by the time they face the Texans again. And then they might lose. And I thought they might finish 10-6 with one other win. I actually think 11-5 is very, very, very realistic looking at their schedule. But we'll see. 5-3, I'll take it so far. Tied at first with Jacksonville. So, they're well on their way. They don't need. And I'm happy that they kind of faltered when they did because they totally fell off of everyone's radar. And while we aren't talked about ever, it is nice now to at least feel comfortable knowing that, hey, we are actually a good team that's worthy of being talked about. But we get to kind of fly under the radar, which is nice. So, because a lot of people were on them the first couple of weeks, and then they had that big, huge loss to the Texans, and then they turned around and lost to the Dolphins. So, I think a lot of people jumped off then, and I think quietly while everyone was looking the other way, they won 3 straight. And I think they faltered at a good time because they faltered really early in the year, and they faltered in 2 games, one of which really mattered against the Texans, and one of which didn't really matter, which was the Dolphins. And then they faltered again against the Browns, but they were fortunate enough to get a win. So I think the fact that they got their – because, listen, everyone in the NFL lays an egg at some point, okay? The Patriots laid an egg opening week. Maybe they have corrected their mistakes through the first 9-10 weeks, but they have laid their egg for the season. I think they're going to be nice and strong heading into the postseason. Same thing for the Cowboys. Cowboys laid a couple of eggs, but they're back in the thick of things. You can pick out every single team. Kansas City started out 5-0. They laid a couple of eggs. So I'd rather them get it out early. The Browns, the Dolphins, the Texans blow out, and then be stronger heading into the later part of the season when their schedule's easier, so they can, they don't have any juggernaut opponents coming up, and they've sort of stumbled their way so far, but they're 5-3, so they're in great position to now start playing better with their own destiny in their control. So hopefully they can do just that. So, but good win. They beat the Ravens. Good win. Like I said, they didn't play their greatest game. I thought they played a great first half, and they kind of faltered. I think they let off the gas just a tad bit too early in the third quarter, but they got the win, and that's what matters. I also want to talk about the Eagles really quickly because I think it's safe to say that they look like the best team, if not in all of football, which I think they do at least by record. I still, my gut tells me the Pats are still the best team, but I think that will be proven later on. But as of right now, the Eagles are clear and far and away the best team. They have a lot of stuff to work on. Their offensive line needs to protect better. I think that's the main thing because Wentz does get hit a lot. But, I mean, he's incredible. The team, I thought they would be good. I didn't think they'd be this good. And they aren't just beating people. Like, they are obliterating teams. Like, they are manhandling teams. They went up there and played Denver. And, you know, obviously Denver has a great defense. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I think I don't want to say it because, you know, I hate to question anything that a professional athlete does because I've never been there, but it just looks to me like a defeated defense. I think they played with a lot of pride the first couple of games, and I think they are starting to see like things are falling apart. Maybe things are getting a little weary in the locker room. I don't know, but for whatever reason, they came out. Maybe they came out flat. Maybe the Eagles are just that good, but either way, they took advantage of it, and that's what counts. I don't know. I still think the Seahawks are going to be I think they are the Pats of the NFC as far as I think they're going to prove to be the better team down the road. But as of right now, the Eagles are the best team in football. They look great. The Seahawks, they lost, but I wouldn't take it to heart. I think like a lot of other teams, as I was talking about the Titans, they just laid an egg. I don't think the Redskins are that good. I think they're a good team. I just don't. They're not. I don't think they're beating the Seahawks in the playoffs, or you know, say if they had to play this game to go to the playoffs or something like that. I just don't see them living up to that moment yet. They just don't have the playmakers to do that. They have really good players, but no one pops off the screen really for me. Now the running back is good. He's very versatile, but he doesn't like wow me. And I could be completely wrong, but that's just my gut feeling with the Redskins. So I think the Seahawks would be just fine, just like the Pats would be just fine. I think the Eagles are good. I think they're the best team in the NFC as of right now. I don't know if they're better than the Seahawks, but I think if not for the Seahawks, they are definitely number 2. I don't think there's anyone else even close. Any of the Saints might be something to deal with. I don't trust the Panthers. I don't trust the Cowboys to win. I don't trust them to beat the Seahawks or the Eagles. I don't think they could beat like the Panthers or the Saints, but I don't think either of those teams are going to matter at the end anyway. I think it'll be the Seahawks and the Eagles for the NFC Championship. But yeah, I just don't trust. For me, it comes down. I think I've seen enough at this point to be able to pinpoint, like I said on my last video, the 4 teams that I think are going to be in the AFC and NFC Championship, and that's the Pats, Steelers, Eagles, Seahawks. I think there's a lot of, like, that's my A category. I think there's a lot of B pluses, and you can start looking at teams like the Chiefs, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Saints, the Panthers. I mean, there's a host of teams you could place in that category, but I just don't. I think there's such a drop off between them and, you know, that the 4 teams that I just listed that I don't think it's really going to matter. So that's all I really want to talk about so far. As I said, this week was a little boring. Games weren't that great. Cowboys beat the Chiefs. I wasn't that impressed with either team. It was a pretty sloppy game to me. neither team could really get going on offense, and then all of a sudden they had the Cowboys scored on like 4 plays at the end of this first half, and then the Chiefs came back and scored on like the first 2 plays. Like they threw one incomplete, and then they had the crazy wild play with Tyreek Hill. Like it just wasn't. It didn't feel. There was a lot of mediocrity on display for me. I don't buy the Cowboys. I don't buy the Chiefs. I told everyone the first night when they played the Pats. I told everyone. I tweeted during the game, before the game, after the game. I don't get the obsession with Alex Smith. We do this every single year, and then he starts to falter midway through the year, and by the end of the year, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they lose in the first round. I don't get it. Why is everyone so obsessed with that? It's been that way for the last 3 or 4 years, every single time, and I don't understand it. The Chiefs it's tough to play there, and yeah, I'm sure it is, but listen, they may not have started out 5-0 last year, but they started out good. They went to the playoffs, and they did the same thing that they do every year. And they did the same thing the year before and the year before. Like, I don't buy Alex Smith is just not that dude. He's a good quarterback. He ain't that dude. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, you can't just take him out because you know he's not going to win. Like, you can't just do that. It doesn't work that way. I just know, for me, I don't buy the Chiefs. I don't buy the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, I'm not gung-ho. I think he's a solid quarterback. But without Zeke in the backfield, he's limited. At least, well, I shouldn't say he's limited. We just haven't seen him do it yet. So what if he has to? What if Zeke does get suspended in the next 2 or 3 weeks and actually does, he would miss the playoffs if they got there? Like, I don't trust Dak to throw the ball 40 times a game. I just don't. I don't know what everyone, and maybe it's just me being new to the quote unquote media. I guess technically I'm part of the media world now, but I guess I have a different perspective as well coming in from as a fan, because I just don't get the obsession with crowning and bashing these new players or these veterans who've been the same players for years and years and years, and all of a sudden we try to make them something that they aren't. Or you get a rookie or first or second or third year player, especially in like the NBA, where until 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in the league is when you really start to see who they are. And they start to win championships and things of that nature. NFL is a little bit different. You can come in as a rookie or a second year or third year player and be great immediately. And for quarterbacks, it's a little bit different. I haven't seen a rookie quarterback go to the Super Bowl myself. Now, we've seen some young first, second, third year players get the AFC championships, and even a couple of the second and third year players get the Super Bowls. But have we seen one get to a Super Bowl as a rookie and like be dynamic? Like, now listen, if Dak Prescott got to the Super Bowl last year, maybe I'd be singing a different tune. But they didn't. They lost the first game in the playoffs. So it was the same Dallas story that we've been singing for the last, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. It was just a different person playing quarterback. Now, all of a sudden, he's this messiah who's going to win them Super Bowls. Like, I'm not saying he won't. My point is, how did they get from literally doing the same thing the year before? And, like, I don't understand. Did they go to the playoffs the year before? Or was that the year? No, Romo was hurt. Was he hurt that? Yeah, he was hurt that year. That's how they ended up with the pick, right? Yeah. I think so. Let me look that up. All right, I'm back. Yes, so that is correct. He was hurt. It was the year before that they won, or they went to Green Bay and lost on the catch that wasn't a catch. But point being, we saw the same thing for the last couple of years. Listen, I'm not saying that it's the same team. I totally get it's a different team every single year, but not so much it's different in terms of players and maybe even scheme depending on what players you have. But you have the same people running the team. You have the same people installing the offense, installing the defense, installing special teams, and giving off the vibes and the mentality that your team carries. And that didn't change. And what that mentality is we're just going to be relevant, and we're going to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. This time we have a different quarterback and a different running back. And because they're new and they were so dynamic and they were rookies, all of a sudden they're these all-time great players. Dak hasn't done anything for me to even remotely say, oh, he is phenomenal. Like, I haven't seen that. I haven't. Like, what has he done? He hasn't done anything. Now, again, I'm not saying he's not a great player. He is a very good quarterback. I have seen enough to know that he's a good quarterback. My point is, why we can't give him this crown of, like, some people want to say he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football, or, you know, he's already an elite quarterback, and you have to prove something. You haven't won a playoff game. No, sorry. Next. Now, I have no issue with projecting where someone is going to be, but this immediate placement of trying to place Dak as a top 5 quarterback, as an elite quarterback, or to place Carson Wentz as an elite quarterback. Are they playing great this year? Yes, but there's a lot of other people playing great as well, and you can't skip them solely because they're a first-year or second-year player. Jared Goff is having an amazing year. Sorry, he's not a top 5 quarterback. He's just not yet. Let's pump the brake. The reason I brought this up really was to talk about Lonzo Ball, because people are freaking out, and it's one way or the other. There's people that are saying he's going to be a bust. I don't know, like, it's been 2-3 weeks into the NBA season, and there's already people like, oh my God, he's not going to last 3 years. You need to put him on the bench. He can't start. He can't shoot. He's too small. He's not athletic. He can't rebound. He can't do. Dude, it's 3 weeks into his entire career. He just turned 20 years old. He doesn't even have a full connecting beard yet. Give him some time. I don't understand why people do this with these young players in any league. I don't get it. You want to know what's really phenomenal? And here's a perfect example. And I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but some people are going to understand what I'm going to say, so I'm going to say it anyway. It reminds me a lot of LeBron James, right? LeBron James, if he had played in a different time, I don't think, like, LeBron James could not have come into the NBA at a more perfect time in terms of being an all-time great player. And here's what I mean. LeBron James came into the league when social media was just starting to pop, when viral things were just starting to pop, when NBA contracts were starting to you were starting to see big-time money contracts. When free agency, you started to see players start to move around. Well, LeBron sort of started that as well. But point being, like, you started to see that transition of players not wanting to play somewhere for 15, 20 years like Kobe did. You see LeBron James grow up in a time where he was fortunate enough, again, he's all-time great talent, so don't take this the wrong way, but he was fortunate enough to play in the Eastern Conference, where, albeit for a large part of his career, there hasn't been anyone close to his level, not even close. Now, there's been great players, but never anyone, not even remotely close to LeBron James's level until Paul George came, and Paul George is a baby still. So, not even he is on LeBron James. Like, he's not even close. And my point is, like, would LeBron James be as impactful? I'm asking this to other people. Would he be as impactful if he wasn't discussed? That, like, he came into the league and he was already looked at as, oh, he's going to be legit. And so I think my point is, I think he benefited from that, where I think he was pretty bulletproof because LeBron had a lot of shortcomings leading up to his ultimate rise. He fell short a lot. And so I think because he was anointed as this Messiah, this second coming of MJ, as far as being the greatest player, I think he was a little bulletproof leading up to, what he is now. And I think people have started to try to justify a lot of what he does. And my point is, Lonzo doesn't have that, right? Lonzo was looked at as a really good player in college. No one looked at him as this life-changing player. I guess I should say like all-time great player coming out of college. He just wasn't looked at that way, and he's played, let's call it a month into his season, and he's being ripped apart because he's not Magic Johnson, because he's not Jason Kidd or John Stockton or Chris Paul even. Kobe Bryant, like he's not Allen, like he's none of these players, and because he's not them, he's being torn apart after a month into his rookie year, and he's not shooting the ball well at all. He shot it a lot better on the road than he has at home, but overall he's not shooting the ball well. I have watched a lot of their games. He definitely has brought some life. He's pumped a little life into the organization for sure. You see the ball moving around. You see players taking open shots, making extra passes. I'm seeing players like Brook Lopez. Is it Brook Lopez? Brook Lopez making like behind the back or, one-touch passes, no-look passes. Like, impact isn't just stats and numbers, and people are so paralysis by analysis. They say it all the time. Like, they're so paralyzed by certain players' numbers. And listen, obviously stats are a way to tell if a player is going to be good, bad, or indifferent, but it's not the way, okay? And it's definitely not the only way. There's many ways to be a good player. You don't have to be – Lonzo Ball doesn't have to be – first of all, he got drafted by the Lakers, okay? Think about this. In order for him to be an all-time great Laker, just an all-time great Laker, think about the names that he would be among. Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kareem, James Worthy, Kobe, Shaq. That's just off the top of my head. So that's just for him to be an all-time great Laker. That doesn't even include just all-time great players in general. The Kobe or the LeBron Jameses, the Kevin Garnetts, the Dirk Nowitzkis, the Dwayne Wades, Reggie Miller, Charles Barkley, MJ, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing. Like, these are players, like, you have to fathom what people are doing to him. It makes no sense to me. He's 20 years old, a month into his rookie season. Relax. Dak Prescott is into his, I think he's 25, 26 games in, something like that, into his entire NFL career. Relax on he's elite. He's great. He's top 5. Relax. Carson Wentz, top 5. Relax. Now, if you want to completely qualify and say this year, I'm all in for that. I will totally change what I'm saying. Obviously, I understand this year separate from all time, and even for your own career. But people are so paralyzed by numbers. That's all people want to talk about, and I think it's because you can use numbers to make whatever argument you want to make. And maybe that's exactly what it is. You can use whatever numbers you want to make whatever argument you want. If LeBron James averaged 30 points for the season, you could say one or two things. Well, he should have passed the ball more to gotten his other teammates involved. Or you could say, man, he's the all-time great player to average 30 points in his 15th NBA season. He still averaged 30 points. So my point is, you can take numbers and use them for wherever you want to. What do your eyes tell you? The eye test. You supplement eye tests with numbers. Do the numbers lie when you watch the tape? Okay? Think about Colin Cowherd made a great point. Matt Ryan went from an average quarterback to is he elite to MVP, okay, he's elite, to back to average quarterback. And he said if you take out the MVP year, he's right in line with Andy Dalton. And no one talks about Andy Dalton. You can use numbers for whatever you want to. What do your eyes tell you? My eyes tell me that the Pats, the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Eagles are the 4 best teams in NFL. AFC and NFC championships. My eyes tell me that Dak Prescott is not a top 5 quarterback. And not even this year, if you ask me. I think Dak is a very solid quarterback. I don't think Dak by himself could lead a team to a championship. I don't think without Zeke, he could lead that team to the playoffs. I don't. They don't have any playmakers. They need weapons. Dez Bryant, no. Dez Bryant is a solid receiver. And if you had forgotten who Dez Bryant was and they just drafted Dez Bryant, he'd be a solid receiver. If you didn't know who Dez Bryant was prior to this year, and he was just playing this year, you'd be like, he's all right. Nothing flashy. Cole Beasley, he's a poor man's Julian Edelman, as I hear all the time. No, he's not. He's Cole Beasley. He's not a poor man's nothing. He's Cole Beasley. And I mean, you can go up and down the list with every team. They're all a bunch of pretenders. Even my Titans. Listen. Now, one thing I will say about the Cowboys and the Titans, they do play the style of football that you need to play in that time of year in order to win games. With the exception of the Pats, who, when they needed to, were effective at running the football. They won the game. They won the Super Bowl on a running play. They run when they need to. They are capable of running the football. When the situation arises, when they feel running is a better option, they aren't shying away from it because they don't feel like they can run. They are able to run the football, and the Titans and the Cowboys can do that. The biggest question for me with the Cowboys is, do they have enough playmakers on the outside to accommodate in a game where they might not be able to run the football quite as well? Let's say you average 150 yards in the playoffs, but maybe one game you only ran for 60. Are you going to be able to account for the lack of production in the running game with Dak Prescott? I don't know if I could depend on him to do that. And I look at the Titans the same way. I think the Titans have the perfect team to, name and everything set aside, just looking at the players and scheme. They have the perfect team to win the Super Bowl. They have a quarterback who is capable as far as he's a competent person. Okay, he's not an idiot. He can make deep throws. He can make short throws. He's physically capable of making all the throws. He seems to not – he doesn't make silly, stupid throws. Everyone makes mistakes, but he doesn't like force it into triple coverage and stuff like that. And they have a very effective running game with a physical, tough offensive line and a solid tight end who is one of the very few who's great at passing and run blocking. He has great hands. He always seems to be open, like Jason Witten, but quicker. He always seems to be open. And you have at least one explosive receiver in Rashard Matthews and a very solid big receiver in Eric Decker. You got your quick guy in Tywan Taylor, and you got your playmaker in Corey Davis, who has shown some promise as the 5th pick. And that's just the offense. Defensively, you don't have a great defense, but you don't have a terrible defense. You have a very opportunistic defense for sure. They lead the league in interceptions. They do get picked apart quite a bit. A lot of it has to do with them being up at the time. So, other teams are forced to throw the ball, which is not necessarily fair. And they do have a all-new secondary. So you have a team who is really starting to come together. My question is, can they be consistent? Yes, they won 3 straight games. They weren't pretty. They were really, I wouldn't even say really good. They were pretty good against the Colts. They were terrible against the Browns and managed to squeak out a win. And they were great against the Ravens for a half, and then pretty miserable the second half. So they play the brand of football that you need to play, but I question the consistency of the Titans. That's my only thing with them, honestly. They could easily, I think, again, I looked at the schedule. I'm not being biased here. I'm being completely objective. I think 11-5 is very realistic for them. But so is, 8-8. I mean, they are that kind of team. They could lay an egg so fast it would blow your mind. Last year, I thought for sure they were going to the playoffs. All they had to do was beat Blake Bortles and the Jags. Are you kidding me? They were abysmal last year. And what did they do? They lost by 20. So, we'll see. We shall see. I've been all over the place, I know. I've rambled and rambled. But I kind of like this better. I don't know. If someone out there is listening still, let me know. I guess if you like segments better, or if you just like me to just ramble, I don't know. There's like 20 people that watch this. So if you 20 people, feel free to leave a comment and let me know. I like to talk. I just like to talk. I like to talk about sports. Whatever pops into my head, that's what I start talking about. That's the way I like to do it. I started talking about the NFL, ended up talking about Lonzo Ball and LeBron James. So, whatever. But that's it for this episode. I'm going to call it a night. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.